I'm Brad Sherman from America's best named city, Sherman Oaks. I represent the Valley and parts of the West Side. I want to thank Laura Friedman for putting this together. We have seen the death of two Americans, a nurse and a mother. 2,000 federal agents terrorizing just Minneapolis, and we've seen it in the streets of other cities as well. We obviously need an independent investigation, and we need an investigation not just of the murders, but also of the cover-up. And I will point out that under Minnesota law, obstruction of justice and conspiracy to commit obstruction of justice not only can be prosecuted this year, but also 3 years from now when we have a different president. So those who are trying to hide this crime and those who committed it should all face Minnesota justice. And this idea that you're somehow able to commit murder in Minnesota because you're wearing a federal uniform is a complete misunderstanding of how law works in this country. President Trump told us he was going to go after the worst of the worst. Instead, he's on the streets going at Home Depots, where you see people who are trying to scratch out a couple $100 as a day laborer. What kind of drug kingpin is that? Michael Corleone does not want to help you clean out your garage. And then they're using IRS records. If you file your tax return, you usually put a Social Security number on it. But if you can't get a Social Security number, you put a taxpayer identification number on it, which anybody can get. And so he's going after day laborers and taxpayers, while he promised to go after the worst of the worst. We need to, obviously, to impeach Kristi Noem. We need to rescind or repeal the huge amount of money that was in the big ugly bill for ICE, and I think all of us will be joining in the effort to take that money away from ICE. Right now, the government, a big chunk of the government, is scheduled to shut down, another government shutdown, this weekend. The Senate has the bills that can keep the government open. But the Senate, thank God, will not pass a bill that provides unrestricted money to ICE. I call upon the Republicans of the Senate to take the ICE out of that bill and to keep government open. We'd be ready to pass the other appropriations bills, but I don't think Democrats in the Senate or the House are inclined to fund this out-of-control agency. So we will see whether we face another government shutdown, but if we do, we know it is Trump and the Republicans in the Senate who are responsible. Finally, there's a feeling that with all of our efforts, we're not constraining Trump, that he is doing such enormous evil in Minneapolis, in Los Angeles, and around the country, and that our efforts mean nothing. This massively underestimates the evil in that man's heart. What he is doing is just a tiny portion of what he wants to do. He wants the U.S. Army to play ICE in every city in this country. He wants to invade NATO territory. God knows, and if he had his druthers, some of us here would be in an El Salvadorian prison. If you look at the evil he has done, you might think that the hundreds of thousands of Americans who are standing up to Trump have not been effective. But if you compare it to what he wants to do, you realize that 95% of the evil has been stopped. And come 9 months from now, this country will speak at the most important elections we're ever going to hold, and we will further reduce the amount of evil that Donald Trump can do.